Welcome to the Professor English podcast, where we don't just talk about English, we practice English. My name is Ryan, and I am your host. Today, we are going to practice using the phrasal verb hold something against someone, which means to focus on someone's bad quality or actions, and always remember it when dealing with that person. As usual, instead of giving you long explanations, let's just jump right in and practice. If you're not sure how to use it now, don't worry. After we practice using it together now, you will be much more comfortable with this phrase. Before we begin, I just want to remind you that if you prefer some visual help with this exercise, you can always see the video version on my YouTube channel, Professor English ESL Class. Now, let's dive in and start practicing English. Mike gives very good advice, but Mary never listens to him. Let's make a why not listen to Mike question. Why? Why doesn't Mary? Why doesn't she? Why doesn't she listen to Mike? Why doesn't she listen to him? Why doesn't she listen to him? Why doesn't she listen to him? Here is the reason. Mike never graduated high school, so Mary thinks he isn't very smart, and it doesn't matter that his advice is good. We can use even though here. Don't worry, that's very long. You don't have to repeat that. We're going to restructure it a little bit. We can use even though here, which means doesn't matter, not important. And if you're not sure how to use even though, just take a look in the description and you will find a link to a video all about how to use even though. Even though his advice is good, doesn't matter. His advice is good. Not important. His advice is good. She never listens to him. Even though his advice is good, she never listens to him. Now let's make a because. Because of his lack of education. His lack of education. Lack means missing, not enough, insufficient. His lack of education. She never listens to him because of his lack of education, his missing education. Doesn't matter, he gives good advice. That's not important. The important thing is his lack of education. That is where she focuses. Not on the good advice. She focuses on this negative thing about him. We can say this in a different way. We can say, she holds his lack of education against him. She holds his lack of education against him. When he says something, even if it's very smart, very intelligent, she doesn't hear that. All she thinks about is he didn't graduate high school. So she can't listen to him. She holds his lack of education against him. Even though he gives good advice, it doesn't matter, he gives good advice. Repeat this. Even though he gives good advice, she never listens to him because she holds his lack of education against him. She holds his lack of education against him. She never listens to him because she holds his lack of education against him. Even though he gives good advice, she never listens to him because she holds his lack of education against him. All right, fantastic job. Let's try another example. Lucy has a lot of great ideas, but the other members of the team are not interested in her ideas. Let's make a why question. Why not interested in her ideas? Why isn't the team interested? Why isn't the team interested in her ideas? Why aren't they? Why aren't they? Why aren't they interested? Why aren't they interested in her ideas? in her ideas, inner ideas? Why aren't they interested in her ideas? Why aren't they interested in her ideas? Here is the reason. She is inexperienced. She is inexperienced. They aren't interested in her ideas because she is inexperienced. So maybe she has very good ideas, but they don't see her good ideas. All they see when they look at Lucy is she is inexperienced, so she can't possibly know. They're not even willing to listen. They hold her inexperience against her. They aren't interested in her ideas because she is inexperienced. They hold her inexperience against her. They hold her inexperienced against her. Let's make an even though statement. Remember, if you want to practice even though, just take a look in the description. Even though her ideas are good, doesn't matter, her ideas are good. Not important, her ideas are good. They aren't interested in her ideas. Even though her ideas are good, they aren't interested in her ideas. They hold her inexperience against her. Even though her ideas are good, even though her ideas are good, even though her ideas are good, they aren't interested in her ideas, in her ideas, in her ideas. They aren't interested in her ideas. Even though her ideas are good, they aren't interested in her ideas. They hold her inexperience against her. They hold her inexperience against her. Against her. Against her. They hold her inexperience against her. Even though her ideas are good, they aren't interested in her ideas. They hold her inexperience against her. All right, you're doing a super duper job. Let's try another example. But before we do, I just want to remind you that if you find these exercises helpful, please take a moment to subscribe to my channel, Professor English ESL Class, so that you won't miss the next lesson. And if you are watching this video on YouTube, please take a moment to press the like button. It helps my channel so much and lets me know that you want to see more fluency and listening comprehension exercises just like this one. Now, let's keep practicing English. Here is another situation. John is innocent, but the police think that he committed a crime. They don't believe him when he says he's innocent. Let's make a why not question. Why not believe him? Why not? Why don't the police believe him? Believe him. Why don't the police believe him? Why don't they? Why don't they? Why don't they believe him? Why don't they believe him? Why don't they believe him? Here is the reason. Because he is addicted to drugs. So, because he takes a lot of drugs, even if he's telling the truth, it doesn't matter. They think, well, he's addicted to drugs. He doesn't tell the truth. They don't believe him because he's addicted to drugs. They hold his addiction against him. They hold his addiction against him. They hold his addiction. They hold his addiction against him, against him, against him. They hold his addiction against him. They hold his addiction against him. Let's make an even though phrase. Even though he is innocent. It doesn't matter he's innocent. Not important he is innocent. The police don't believe him. Even though he's innocent, the police don't believe him. Even though he's innocent, even though he's innocent, the police don't believe him. Even though he's innocent, the police don't believe him. They hold his addiction against him. They hold his addiction against him. All right, you're doing a fantastic job. Let's try another example. One more. Mark was having an argument with Lucy and John. Mark was clearly right, but Lucy and John refused to see his point of view. They would not admit he was right. They would not admit he was right. Let's make a why not question with they would not admit he was right. Why wouldn't they? Why wouldn't they? Why wouldn't they admit? Why wouldn't they admit that he was right? Why wouldn't they? Why wouldn't they admit that he was right? Here is the reason. He has made many mistakes in the past. He has made many mistakes in the past. They wouldn't admit he was right because he has made many mistakes in the past. So because he has made many mistakes in the past, now they don't want to believe him ever. They hold his past mistakes against him. They hold his past mistakes against him. They wouldn't listen to him. They wouldn't listen to him. They wouldn't listen to him because they held, make it past. They held his past mistakes against him, against him, against him, against him. They wouldn't listen to him because they held his past mistakes against him. Let's make an even though phrase. Even though he was right. Didn't matter he was right. Not important. Who cares he was right? They wouldn't listen. Even though he was right, they wouldn't listen to him. Even though he was right, they wouldn't listen to him. Even though he was right, they wouldn't listen to him. They held his past mistakes against him. Even though he was right, 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 they wouldn't listen to him. They wouldn't listen to him. They wouldn't listen to him. They held his past mistakes against him. They held his past mistakes. They held his past mistakes against him. Even though he was right, they wouldn't listen to him. They held his past mistakes against him. All right, you did an amazing job today, and you learned some fantastic English. Congratulations, I knew you could do it. Remember, practice makes perfect, so you should repeat this exercise several times, not just so that you can remember how to use hold something against someone, but also to improve your listening and your speaking skills. It's been really fun practicing English with you today, and I hope to see you again real soon. So don't forget to subscribe to my channel, and don't forget to press the like button. See you in the next video with more interesting words and phrases.